Hi, you are listening to This Is Not Your Practice Life. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friends. I'm a certified life and emotional intelligence coach. And if you really want to step into your highest self, there are a few non-negotiables you're going to have to learn, and I am just the person to help you do it. No matter your past, I'm here to help you create a more fulfilling future. So stick around with me. Not only will I teach you how to navigate your brain's daily mind drama, but I'll help you actually understand your mind, your emotions, why you do the things you do, and why others do the things they do. Most importantly, I'll help you build the self-awareness skills to create whatever results you want. It's never too late to change the trajectory of your life. After all, this is not your practice life. Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. My name is Macy. I'm so excited to have you joining in and listening to the podcast this morning. If you're a brand new listener, you're in for a treat. If you're a returning listener, you're also in for a treat. I'm honestly so excited to release this episode. I've titled it When Women Crave Emotional Depth because I think the honest truth is that most women crave emotional depth, but don't know exactly how to describe that to the people that they love or know how to ask for it, or maybe even know the ins and outs of it. So my hope for today's episode is that it's something that resonates with you, that if it does, you share it with friends, you share it with family, you share it with other women that need it. But also, I hope this is also an episode that can be listened to by male listeners as well, by husbands, by boyfriends, by, people that are dating that want to understand especially what women are often coming to me for coaching on, which is in relationships specifically, it's that emotional depth. But also, you guys, this applies again to both sexes because men, I think, oftentimes want depth as well. And we also want this in family relationships, friendships, communities. So it's not just meant for romantic relationships per se, although that is kind of more so the spin I'm going to have on this episode. But know that you can apply the concepts and the principles and the things you're hearing not only to your romantic relationships, but to any other relationships that are important to you as well, where you would like to experience more depth. Now, I'm going to get into this episode right away. So what I did want to tell you about is that I have some special announcements at the end of this episode. I am running a brand new mini program, which doesn't happen many times throughout the year. And this will be the last mini, and it's leading to something really, really big. So if you don't want to miss that, just make sure that you stick around as the podcast episode wraps up so you don't miss anything good. But other than that, I want to get right into this episode of emotional depth. So first and foremost, let's talk about what emotional depth is and what it is not. Emotional depth, whenever anyone is asking for that, is presence, okay? Being very present in the moment. It's about honesty, true honesty, which requires vulnerability and resonance, okay? It is the courage to go beyond that small talk and into truth. But what it's not is oversharing or drama or constant heaviness. So sometimes people will feel like they are, participating in emotional depth when they share a lot of their emotions or they do a lot of emotional dumping. But what that can tend to feel like on the receiving end is a lot of heaviness around carrying the weight, the emotional weight of someone else. And that's not what emotional depth is. Emotional depth is being able to use emotional intelligence to be very empathetic and regulate your nervous system and be aware so that you can hold people's truths without dismissing it, fixing it, or even running away from it. So that's a big piece. And it really matters, emotional depth I'm speaking of, because it builds intimacy beyond attraction. So that's more so in regards to romantic relationships. It's how partners feel safe and fully known with one another. And when you think of someone who's going to be your life partner, I mean, you want to feel like they know you better than anybody else, right? In a really good way, not in a way in which it's used ever against you, but that you feel very safe to be you. They know you, they see you. There's a depth to your all's relationship. In friendships, it turns casual friends into lifelong soul connections. So those friends where you have this tight bond with them and you can feel like you can tell them anything and they're the person, like the first person you call, that is because you have such emotional depth. You can be yourself, you can be truthful, they can hold the space for you, and you feel really held in your relationship with them. When it comes to like communities or work relationships, emotional depth is what creates trust and loyalty and even collaboration. We need to really be able to see people, maybe not at the same level as romantic and friendship, but even in work environments, being able to be open and honest and allow people to see us in some ways creates more emotional depth. And without this emotional depth, relationships look good on the outside, but often on the inside, it will feel very lonely and very isolating. And that's oftentimes what I find in my coaching practice, is that especially as women start to learn more emotional intelligence skills, sometimes that creates a little bit of a rift or a disconnect for a period of time in their relationship. And it's usually because they're learning how to hold so much space. Like they know how to hold a lot of space for women. For instance, in my group programs, they know how to hold space for people outside of coaching. So, maybe that is their coworkers, maybe it is friends, maybe it is their partner at home. And then the problem is a lot of times other people on the outside who are not learning these skills don't know how to reciprocate. So then it will feel very lonely and isolating and even frustrating and maddening to know like you're practicing your skill 100% of the time, holding space, but maybe not getting that emotional depth in return out of your relationships. And that's why I really wanted to come on here and speak on this on the podcast, because I think, again, in order for someone to reciprocate any sort of emotional depth, they have to know what it is. They have to know what it isn't. They have to know how it tends to show up and how to know you're doing a really good job and how to know you're not doing a good job. And that's why I said, don't feel like at any point I'm picking at you or picking on you. The whole point of this is to be aware of what you may not already be aware of, so that if it is something that, is new to you, you can choose if you want to implement it. Hence, that is what coaching is, right? So here's the thing, it's going to show up, emotional depth is going to show up differently based on the feminine and masculine energies. Now, what's really important to know is no matter if you are male or female, both sexes possess feminine and masculine traits and roles, and they turn on and off at different times. So both masculine and feminine energies live in everyone, but they do get expressed differently. And obviously for females, being in the feminine energy is where a lot of times we are our strongest, though we can step into masculine energy when necessary, or sometimes when we have to. You'll specifically, for guys listening, females tend to be more in a masculine role whenever they have to step up to the plate to do something. So it happens a lot maybe for a single mom. If you were raised by a single mom, you probably saw a lot of masculine traits in her, being someone who was a doer, a fixer, a figure it outer, a problem solver. And again, while these traits are really great, and we are able to access them even as females, we're not meant to live in them all the time. So for men, a lot of times they will say things like, "You're not my mom." Like if there's ever a time in your relationship where you hear or you're saying to your partner, "You're not my mom," or "Stop treating me like a child," it probably means that that woman has stepped into a masculine role for whenever a masculine energy has been absent and she stepped into it. And it's really hard to turn it off unless the masculine is that presence that can be everything that I'm about to describe. Okay, that's what softens the feminine energy and allows us to get back into that place where, we're able to flow and interact in a much more regulated kind of, that's not the word I'm looking for, but it's like that ebb and flow that is just so powerful. So here's what happens with the feminine side, like especially when it comes to emotional depth. When a woman is in her feminine energy, she feels safe enough to reveal much more. She's going to be more expressive as opposed to like internalizing a lot or keeping a lot to herself. And she's going to be more inviting of intimacy, because when she's actually in her feminine energy, she will crave that. But again, if a woman doesn't feel safe on an emotional level, like she can just be herself, like she can just be seen, be heard, be held, and I'm going to get more to this, then what you're going to see is a more guarded woman, and she will tend to show up in more of a masculine energy. And it's exhausting for us over time. It's not where we want to be at all. But again, we have to work on things that allow us to be more in our feminine, while also our partners oftentimes have to work on their masculine in order to help us get more in that feminine more often as well, and vice versa. Okay, so again, I tell my clients all the time, they're not off the hook. I always tell them, if you're constantly in a masculine energy, then you are robbing it from your partner. So if you want them to be in a masculine energy more of the time, you have to be releasing it more of the time. But again, it is a dance. So we really need both partners working hard at this together. And where a lot of the frustration happens is you have a woman who's in coaching or has been in coaching for forever. They've been trying to get their partner into coaching or therapy or something, and that partner doesn't see the benefit or believe in it, or think that there's any kind of problems, and it doesn't even have to be like problems per se, but it's like if there's not even a willingness to hear kind of what's going on for your partner, or what she wants to share with you that she might be learning, then there's going to be that guard. And again, it's going to be really hard to have that flow and that dance. Another feminine kind of trait of this emotional depth is that when she actually is in that energy, she will model very deep vulnerability. So you will get to see sides of her that she may not share with anybody else. She'll be more open because she's more trusting, and she'll also be more emotionally available for whatever it is that other people have going on. And the thing about it is that the feminine really goes first. So this is something that, again, my ladies don't always like to hear. But again, if a woman refuses to let go of the masculine energy, it's very hard for males specifically to take it back. And only one can be the winner of each energy. So basically, if you're in a household, you have your male and your female, and the female has, 90% of the masculine energy, even in a single moment. The male only has 10% to offer when it comes to that energy. So she has to be willing to release the reins in order for that male partner to really step it up and give her that space for emotional depth. So they don't always like whenever I am sharing that, but it is such a big piece of that ebb and flow, because feminine energy at the end of the day is a very powerful energy. So we do want to be in it more, but we have to release that want of control. Okay. And I know that that's hard for women that, are maybe used to, in many ways, not just in a partnership, but if you're used to being let down, if you've had to be hyper independent for any reason, even childhood stuff, you're going to tend to be someone who really hates letting go of control and being the fixer and the problem solver, because you're going to feel like you can do everything the best way. And that's more of a masculine trait. So speaking of masculine energy, especially when it comes to emotional depth, a masculine energy is able to hold and steady and provide safety. That's huge. And I don't mean just physical safety, because I think that that's where men really get hung up. They're like, well, I am safe. Like, I can protect. You know what I mean? It's very much a masculine thing to say. But whenever we're speaking of emotional depth, it's emotional safety. And I'm going to tell you exactly what that means. You have to practice. That is being able to listen without defensiveness, listen without trying to fix immediately, because that may not be at all why she is sharing what she's sharing. She is sharing, again, when she's in the feminine energy, she is trying to express and invite intimacy. And I don't mean sexual intimacy all the time. Okay, sometimes maybe yes, but in emotional depth, she is looking for emotional intimacy. She wants to be able to express. She wants to be able to be vulnerable. She wants to be able to be open. But it is very hard to do if you have a partner who has a really hard time listening, because they immediately go into defensiveness, or they immediately try to fix a problem. They bypass every detail because they're figuring out how to problem solve, or they minimize what she is trying to say. Okay. And I know, because I coach a lot of women, hundreds, and I have coached probably actually thousands. Okay, I know from these coaching calls, I know even in my own relationship, that these have been conversations I've had to have with my own husband about, if I'm sharing something with you, I don't always need you to fix it. There will be times where I absolutely would love you to fix it or offer me some fixing. But for most, when women are craving emotional depth in their relationship, actually what we want is just the holding space for us. And holding space is literally like, for a woman, it's literally like if she is having the most stressful time of her life, where she feels like she has had it above her head, like she is drowning. It's the equivalent of not only being like pulled out of the water and onto your chest, but the ability to safely like cry and just like take a deep breath and know, like, even if you don't say a word, you can just melt in that person's arms. Like, truly, that's like the equivalent of what it feels like. It's like they're not going to try and fix me. They're not going to get defensive or tell me everything that I did wrong to drown, or minimize the fact that I felt like I was drowning, even if it doesn't look like a lot of water to him. It's literally the ability to crash and fall into the arms of the person I love most and know that they can hold it. They can hold it without any of the defensiveness, without any of the fixing, without any of the minimizing my own experience. And what that does when a masculine presence is able to do that is create this environment where true emotional depth can flourish, because now the woman can be fully cracked open, can tell the man anything and everything, and feel very seen and very heard and very safe to do so, because she's not going to be told that she is wrong or that she's missing something. You know what I mean? There's a time and place for that. When it comes to emotional depth and we're talking emotional intelligence skills, presence can be so powerful. A safe presence without any kind of ego jumping in or any kind of fixing, which for men, ladies, I want you to hear this, that's very hard, because the masculine is about fixing. The masculine is about problem solving. Like, that is their nature. Guys, this is your nature. So I'm not telling you not to be in your nature all the time, right? But when I'm saying emotional depth, like when you're partner maybe just expresses something, a perfect segue is to say, like, do you want me to help you fix it? Or do you need a hug, right? Or do you just need me to listen? That may sound so cheesy, but truly she will tell you in that moment. If she ever says, I just need a hug, I just need you to listen, what you've just heard is she's craving emotional depth. Okay. If she says, no, I want you to help me fix it, then activate those traits that are so natural to you anyways. Okay. There's a big difference. So together, when these energies are very much in flow, feminine energy offers that emotional depth by revealing, meaning like being fully vulnerable. So sometimes I know, like, my husband is asking me, like, I want to know you, I want you to tell me more things, right? Like, that is something that he craves, and that is something that I offer when I feel emotionally safe and I feel that emotional depth. For the masculine, they offer emotional depth by holding. Okay. But in order, again, to really hold it, you have to be able to express more vulnerability. So again, you guys, this is a dance. We really can't do it well without one another. And again, that's the frustration that if you're a man listening, for a lot of the women clients, is that they want this so badly. They're practicing this 24/7. If they're working with me, they're practicing this 24/7, day in and day out of holding space for someone else's emotions, whether they're actively saying it or not. Because most, clients who are working with me, most women are not going to get home from work and listen to whatever their partner's saying or friends are saying and be like, okay, right now, what I am practicing with you is emotional listening and holding space and not judging and not jumping into fix. Like, they're not going to rattle all of that off, but they're practicing these skills 24/7. So when they also want that space held for them and someone doesn't know how to do it and isn't willing to listen to anything that they're even doing, or inviting them to talk about things that they're even learning and actually being an interested listener, what you're going to get is a very shut down, frustrated kind of partnership or conversation. And even if you don't mean for it to be that way, that's often what happens. It's a natural part of the growth experience, right? We're ideally to grow together. And so there's usually a little bit of, a challenge when one partner is really focused on their growth and the other one is totally resistant to it. So maybe you're in that space right now. And I will say, like, it's a hard place to be. But if you have someone that is at least willing to listen or to do therapy, right, or listen to podcasts or read books, it is possible to get on the same page. It doesn't mean like that, you're at the end or it's over or it's this bad, doom and gloom kind of thing. So let's talk about how to give and receive emotional depth. So in order to give emotional depth, you have to show up with presence, okay? Undistracted presence. You can't be on your phone doing other things. Like, if you really want emotional depth in the moment, it needs to be your undivided attention. This is my biggest thing, right? If I'm not told someone is looking for deep emotional depth in the moment, I can be very easily distracted by other things. Like, I can be getting up to do things around the house, like cleaning up, doing the dishes. And that's a very natural thing for me. When, someone's talking, if they're not like, I want you to sit down and be fully present in this conversation, then I am someone who will multitask. So that is something that I've had to work on, is to also be very, very present and try to recognize when someone is desiring like an emotional connection. Another way that we give emotional depth is asking thoughtful questions that go beyond surface level. So something that I tell my clients all the time, a skill that I think everyone should practice, is getting curious. And when I tell my clients get curious, I mean, when someone tells you something, instead of immediately getting defensive or assuming you know what they mean and then responding based on your assumption, get curious and ask thoughtful questions. What do you mean by that? Or tell me a little bit more. Or what do you mean whenever you say XYZ? Or because when you can actually approach a conversation with curiosity, you eliminate the assuming and you eliminate a lot of disasters, because our brain will come up and fill in the gaps, like come up with all kinds of things, fill in the gaps for what we think someone means. And instead of just jumping to conclusions, curiosity slows you down. Ask them really good questions so that they can tell you exactly what it is, and then you can conversate based on exactly what you're hearing. You're not guessing, you're not assuming, you are not, pushing something on them that they might not even be thinking about. And so it kind of keeps your ego out of it. So if you really want to be good at, emotional depth, you want to get curious, you want to ask thoughtful questions. And then you want to share honestly. You want to really be someone that practices vulnerability in order for emotional depth to be present. If everything is always surface level, it's really, really hard to, fully see and hold space for someone. So if you're wanting to give emotional depth, make sure that you're also vulnerable. So presence, thoughtful questions, vulnerability, and honesty. Okay. Now, being a good receiver of emotional depth. So this is the scenario where you're sitting with someone, they're seeking emotional depth. They're opening up to you about things. They are fully present in the moment. When this is happening, it's so important that as the receiver, you don't minimize or dismiss what they're saying. It's very easy to listen to someone's experience, take your own experience in your mind, and absolutely shut them down by what you think or what you want to contribute. Okay, and that is minimizing and dismissing their experience. And in return, what you will get is someone who does not feel emotionally safe with you. They do not, have that emotional depth with you. They will literally go internal and everything will be up in their mind instead of ever shared with you. Because when they try to tell you something, you minimize it or you dismiss it. Another key aspect of being really good at receiving emotional depth is resisting the urge to fix or redirect it. So this comes up a lot for women who are in masculine energy or males who are not practicing emotional depth or emotional intelligence work. Okay, it is natural in a male to want to fix everything. Okay, and to come up with the solution. But if you are wanting to practice being really good at emotional depth, you're not going to immediately try to fix. What you're going to do instead is hold space. Okay, be present, be undistracted. Get out of your mind and how you're going to fix it, and instead go into thoughtful questions. Why do you feel that way? What are you what are you thinking? Not in a aggressive way, like what are you thinking? But what are you thinking about? Or why does that bother you? Or it's all in tone. It's how you're asking the questions. It's what questions you're asking. Another piece of this, of being good at receiving emotional depth, is acknowledging and holding space for someone else's truth, which may not be your truth. Okay. Holding space is really being able to listen and provide a safe space without your ego getting involved. And ego getting involved means oftentimes you will want to insert your opinion, insert your past experiences, project your fears, project your thoughts onto them, pull them over to your side of thinking. And that's not what holding space is. Holding space is the ability to be fully neutral, of listening to someone's experience, right? And just letting them be in their experience. If you want to help them, ask them questions to figure out what it is that they're wanting. If they want you to fix it, ask them that and get really clear on if that's what they're wanting, and then you can offer whatever you want to offer. But if that is not what they're looking for, you need to make sure that you are aware of that before you start projecting. Okay. And here's the biggest thing about both giving emotional depth and receiving emotional depth. Both require regulation, and you cannot, I'm going to repeat this, you cannot offer or receive emotional depth if you're dysregulated. Okay. When emotions are high, intelligence is low. Again, if you're dysregulated, if you don't have the space to hold for someone's emotions or someone's experiences, again, your nervous system is not at all regulated. It's going to be really, really hard to get into emotional depth. A huge piece of this is self-awareness and empathy. They are the foundation. So empathy is being able to put yourself in someone's shoes of how they may feel. And again, you're not projecting in that moment how, you would fix something or you would handle something. You are listening and you're fully present for their experience and what they're, really wanting to convey, which may be totally different than what you expect. It's like, can you regulate your nervous system as they are sharing their truths? It's not easy. It's a skill. This is something my women are practicing all the time. So they're able to do it a lot more often and very well without people even realizing it. Without losing themselves. The frustration happens when that cannot be reciprocated or is not being reciprocated because other people may not have the skill. Here's the next thing that, something that people may not know about emotional depth is that it doesn't always require like long, lengthy talks. It can be a simple, honest line. So don't feel like emotional depth is like this long, drawn out, you're going to have to sit on a couch and talk to someone for hours, or, it's going to be this very long lasting thing. It doesn't have to be that. Emotional depth, it can be truly a short, quick experience in just a few minutes of like saying something honestly and someone actually receiving it and holding space for it. And then you felt so safe, like you don't need to continue. It doesn't turn into an argument. It's not anything that, is bigger than it ever had to be. It's just like, oh, okay, perfect. And emotional depth is not intensity for intensity's sake. It's literally about congruence and alignment and truth. And many people resist depth simply because it feels uncomfortable. But growth is what lives inside of that discomfort. So depth is very much a mutual experience. It asks for reciprocation, I guess you could say. You have to be able to give it and you have to be able to receive it. So just ask yourself, like, where am I craving more depth in my life? And do I do a lot of the giving of emotional depth, or do I do a lot of the receiving of emotional depth? Do I do both? Am I skilled in both giving it and receiving it? Is there one that I can get better at? And is this something that I'm really craving within my relationships? And if so, how can I get better at asking for that and communicating that? It's a big one. So, emotional depth is what so many of us long for, especially as women, but it really does start with us. The more that we can give and receive it, the more that our relationships can transform into, these really safe places where we feel seen and deeply safe and connected. So that's a big, big deal. And if you ever have questions about any of this, know you can reach out at any time. This is a huge piece of something that's been coming up a lot more recently for clients, is wanting to express more and actually feel seen. And the frustration is more so around, feeling like they're judged whenever they want to communicate something, or feeling like they're dismissed, or someone just does not understand anything, or gets very defensive, or it turns into an argument when all you wanted was actual connection. And so there being like misunderstandings in communication and then blow ups for no reason. And again, it's because it really requires a balance of, what each person is bringing to the table, even if it is to friends, right? It's like, I'm 9 years into this work, doing this work, almost 10 years into doing this work myself as a client, 7 years as a coach. And to this day, my friends and I will ask if we each have space to hold for whatever it is that's going on in our life. So for instance, before I go dump anything on any of my closest friends, I ask if they have the space to hold it. Because I know that there capacity, may be limited. And that does matter for someone being really good at holding space. If they have a ton going on themselves, it's harder to do. It's not impossible, right? But it is harder to do. And so that will tell me maybe who do I want to go to, or what do I need to do for myself in the meantime if that emotional depth is not available within, for instance, my friend group. Same thing with partnerships, right? Like sometimes you're going to have the space for it, sometimes you're not. Being able to communicate that in your relationships is really, really important, because at times it's going to be give and take. At times there's going to be, moments where maybe you both need emotional depth. And then also there has to be the awareness of, again, am I doing this well? Does my partner feel safe to express all of their emotions? They might feel physically safe with me because, like I'm able to protect, but does my partner feel emotionally safe? Like they can tell me anything, like they know that I'm not going to judge them or constantly try to fix or course correct or, scold them for things that I think that they could do better or whatever it may be. There's always a time and place for those things, but when you're really looking to connect, especially with a feminine energy, and you want her to be super vulnerable and honest, she has to feel emotionally safe to do so. So if you ever need help with this on either side, just feel free to reach out to me and I would love to help you. All right, let's really quickly talk about what is coming. So you guys, I have been working really, really hard behind the scenes. That is something that happens as an entrepreneur. For me, specifically in my business, many times I'm working 2 and 3 years ahead. I'm thinking about where I want my business to be, what I want to create or develop, where I want to be able to, take my clients and their growth journeys. And I'm working on it way before it's ever announced. So if you have been following me for a while, you know that I have many, programs, but most of them are mini programs. And then there are a few core programs. So the Equip Society is a core program. The one-on-one private coaching is a core program. And then there is an advanced program, and that is the hybrid experience, which is 6 months of coaching. It's one-on-one and group, hence the name hybrid. And then at the end, they have an in-person retreat for 4 days, which this week we are actually getting ready to go to our retreat. It's in Colorado. So excited. But with this being said, I am ready to wrap up the hybrid experience for a little bit of time because of what I have been creating for about a year or year and a half. That is also going to be advanced, but a totally different concept and direction. Now, the big thing about whenever I'm creating an advanced room is I am watching ahead of time for things that I think clients will need or women will need to do well with their investment in an advanced program should they want to do it. And because I know what's coming down the pipeline and I know big surprises that I am very, very adamant about certain things needing to be nailed down before you put yourself in an investment like an advanced room. So with that being said, this hybrid experience that is about to come to a close is actually going to be the last one for a while. We're not going to do another hybrid experience probably until late 2027, maybe even 2028. So that's a while away. And my focus is going to be on a new advanced program that is coming. That's a totally different direction. It is going to be coming next year. With that being said, what I like to do is offer mini programs that can prep women for those rooms, but where I know that if they get into an advanced room, should they choose to, they're not going to slow the room down because they're lacking any of the really important foundational skills that I think you can build on whether you ever do an advanced program or not. And those two things that I'm working on right now are self-concept. So really helping my clients understand self-concept, what it is, what theirs is, which is unique to them. And then also follow through, because what the heck heck matters in your self-concept if you're not going to do the work. So if you're the person that often goes, I know what I should be doing, but I'm not doing it, if that's kind of your MO, or you do something really well and then you backtrack or you fall off, you're exactly who I'm talking to, okay? So back in January, I created a mini program that was 5 weeks long called Elevated EQ, Your Self-Concept Blueprint. And that was such a powerful program. I think I had 20 women enroll in that, and we worked together for 5 weeks on their self-concept. I created them a custom blueprint. I ran it for $599, and it was truly incredible. And since then, because I've continued behind the scenes working on this advanced program that's coming in 2026 and a bunch of surprises with it, I have realized the importance of that self-concept work and also follow-through work. So I recently created a brand new program called The Threshold. It is a mini program for 4 weeks that kicks off on October 7th. We're going to do the calls Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in this program, I'm actually going to be teaching and coaching differently than I have before. I'm going to be sending you actual physical tools you can put your hands on to really drive the concepts home. I'm so excited about this, and it is going to be another one of those foundational skills that really matters whether you're in the advanced program next year or you're not. Like, this is something that you can use forever, even if you never take anything else. But with the thresholds, I'm running that for $497 for 4 weeks. You can just take the threshold, but if I were you, if you have not taken Elevated EQ, your self-concept blueprint, or you took it, but you already feel like your self-concept has changed, or you took it, but you still feel like you're not quite sure on self-concept, I would bundle them. You're able to bundle them at checkout, both pay in full and a payment plan. And you can add Elevated EQ for just $300 when it used to be $599 just for that course alone. So again, we will meet on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. via Zoom. You will get both workbooks or one workbook, whatever you enroll in. But if you know, or if you even have a 0.5% interest in what is coming, and I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, think that people will kick themselves if they do not equip themselves with these foundational skills once they hear the announcements. But again, I can only do what I can do now to prepare you for what's to come. And these mini programs are really, really about preparing you for what's to come, specifically the threshold. But if you do not know self-concept, if you do not, if you do not have experience making your blueprint or really getting clear on what self-concept is, then bundle it, okay? And we're going to spend a very solid 9 weeks together if you do both, 4 weeks if you just do threshold, going through all of the things that are going to prep you in case you feel like you're a good fit for the advanced program. And by the time the announcements are made, if you have missed these foundational things that would make you a good fit, I promise you'll want to kick yourself in the pants, okay? So what I wanted to come on here and tell you is that the deadline to sign up for the threshold/Elevated EQ, if you bundle, is going to be Friday, September 19th. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to reach out to me. I will put the link in the show notes, okay? Or you can also find it at www.coachingmasterclasses.com. Again, that will be in the show notes so you can see what the threshold is about. You can also see a little bit about Elevated EQ. And I truly look forward to having you because I know what this is going to prep you to have an opportunity for, okay? Should you decide that you want advanced coaching work. And I want to let you know too, the mini is for any level. So if you have never had coaching, if you've had coaching from me a million years ago and you haven't had it in a really long time, if you have coaching all the time from me, no matter who you are, if you're a woman, you can take this course or these courses and you will, one, walk away with a perfectly great, healthy foundation to ever build upon should you want to. But two, you will qualify yourself to be a good candidate for the advanced room next year, should you decide that that is something you want to do. Okay. And I know, again, you don't have all the announcements that are coming. They're going to roll out the rest of this year as we're closing out the year, but you have very limited time to put yourself in this mini course for $497 or $797 for both courses. But all I can tell you is that you got to trust me. And know that I would never just blow smoke. I'm not farting around. I don't do that. If I say something, there's a reason I'm saying it. It's because I know what's coming. I know how hard I've worked on this and what I've created and how beneficial it will be for women who want it. But I know what you're going to need before you ever do that other thing in order for your investment to really pay off. You know, you don't want to skip steps and then go into the next investment. And I'm so serious about that what you spend on your mini program, so $497 or $797, it can be used as a credit to discount the advanced program when it launches. That's how serious I am about making sure that every woman that wants to walk into the advanced program is prepared. Like, I will literally take the amount that you spend now off of that program next year just so I know you're ready for that room. Okay. So if you have any questions, please let me know, reach out, but you can find information in the show notes. Okay. And I look forward to working with you. I look forward to seeing you there. I think you're going to be very, very happy you did it, whether that advanced program is something you ever do or not. I think just from the minis alone, you will be so happy you did it. Okay? I can't wait to see you and work with you, and I will see you guys next week. Hey there. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. If you'd like to connect on social media, you can find me on both Instagram and Facebook at Macy Renee Coaching. And if you want to stay up to date on all of my offers, announcements, and inspirational emails, you can join my email list at macyrenee.com. In addition, if there's a way that I can further support you in your coaching journey, you can schedule a free 60-minute consult at macyrenee.com anytime you want so we can discuss the best options for you. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.